Hey guys, quick update with Bitcoin. Well, not so quick. Actually, I'm going to cover some altcoins. Actually, like 6 or 7 altcoins. Specifically, 3 altcoins were at resistance, which is important because we just broke above resistance level on with Bitcoin. So I'm going to cover those altcoins and a few other charts, as well as we're now going to have a gap below and the treasury and some stuff that actually is important. So this is like I guess a Saturday night special, guys. So in the last video, I told you guys, and I'll put a link to this video now if you want to check it out. This was yesterday. And I said this was 25 seconds in. Said if we get a daily open above 83,200 to 83,300, that would be bullish. I was talking about this level right here all through the video. Said if we get daily open above that point, expect a pump or some upside. And you can see that played out. We got a daily open above 83,200 and we pushed up. So far, we pushed up to around 85,400. Now, I'm going to give you key levels again, as I did in the last video. But remember, the further we push up, it means we're going to have a gap below. We closed on Friday around 84,080. And currently, we're around 85,400. So if we continue up, just remember, they're going to send it back down to fill that gap. So you might be looking for some short entries. But as I said, we are bullish for now because we are above this point. And this, like I said, we're currently at time recording this video around 85,149. So I'm going to give you key levels and we're going to cover a few charts. Guys, some good leverage trading. CoinCatch is a great option. And no KYC, no VPN. If you want to take advantage of their specials, you deposit $1,000 and get $3,000 back to trade with. It's 30 slots every 7 days. Guys, CoinCatch has the best specials I've ever seen. They also have $500 USDT. If you deposit, you get $750 bonus. That's 300 slots every 7 days. So do check out this. All of these will be linked in the pinned in the first comment and in the description. If you want to learn how to trade on CoinCatch, guys, tutorial video I put up. Just show you all the tools I use. Basically, how to set up your account, transfer funds. I cover everything that all the tools I use and how I use them. So if you want to learn how to trade on CoinCatch, I'll link this video now. Also, check out LBank. Now, you will need a VPN if you're in the US, but they are no KYC. So if you want to check them out, I'll put a link up to their specials page now. Okay, so we pushed up, and as I mentioned in the last video, so this is the D1 charts on the daily. And I was talking about this area right here, that this was a lot of resistance. We had this resistance level since 109,000. We had the central Bollinger Band. We had this fib channel line. We had all of these resistance levels. That's why I said if we got daily open above, that'd be bullish. And we pushed up. So your next major resistance level to pay attention to, and of course it depends when. So if we push straight up, a point to scalp a short would be around 86,529. Possibly 87,000, but where these two intersect is right around, let's just say 87,000. So that's your next most key level if you wanted to open a short. And obviously now your support level, next daily candle would be around 83,400, and this is an upward angle, so it keeps going up. So again, as long as you're above 83,300, I would stay bullish. It doesn't mean we cannot come back down and test it. I also mentioned in the previous video, we got a bullish cross on the MACD. So that was further confirmation we might push up. So that played out. We're pushing up. So your next major resistance level to pay attention to on the D1 chart is around 86,966. If we push above that, next resistance level to pay attention to is going to be up around 90,800. Take note, this is the top Bollinger Band on the daily, which is below that point. But those are your key levels. If we break 83,400, your most key support level below, well, it will be around 82,400 because this is that resistance level we broke above. But I would pay attention to 81,400. As I said, we could come back up, come back down. But this orange trend line, while I would use it more as a reference, if we're above, that's bullish. If we're below, that's bearish. But we did, as I mentioned, if you watched the previous video, I did mention, we hit this fib line to the dollar. So if you would along that point, you're doing pretty well. So again, those are your most key levels to pay attention to right now. And again, we could push up to 86,966. We get daily open above that. Then, as I said, we're probably headed up to 90,800. And more than likely, if we're above 87,000, then we're probably headed up to what, 93,000, 94,000, and I'll go more into detail on that in just a bit. But as I said, the more we push up over the weekend, that means we're creating a gap below. So as you can see, our gap when we closed was 84,000. So again, the higher we push up, that means we're gonna have a bigger gap. So if we push up to 87,000, we're gonna have a gap down below to 84,000, which more than likely will come down to get filled, and that might happen on Monday. We'll have to see. Let's go on. And by the way, I did mention this in the previous video. This is going to be interesting. While the D1 chart is bullish, I did mention that this was support. Let me get my arrow tool here. This was support, support, support. It became support and support. And now we are testing that as resistance. Well, at least where we closed on Friday. And we're above that point. So we'll have to see if we wick back down below that point. But at least on the CME gap chart, that is your current resistance. Now, we'll be above that point, but the question is, do we come back down below that? We fill that gap, we're back under resistance, so something to pay attention to. This is the H1 chart. This is on the hourly. Just to give you key support and resistance levels to pay attention to. So your first key support level, notice we got a perfect rejection, 83,572. Got another rejection, 83,900. So that is your current support level on the hourly. If you want to scalp along, 84,056. The central Bollinger Band on the daily and this trend line is right around 83,175. Again, stay bullish above that point. Your next support level below that is around 81,054. Your next resistance level, and guys, just look left and you can see why these lines are so important. If we draw a line right here, and I'll show you the altcoin charts, it's the same thing. All right, let me adjust this. So you can see that this has been support and resistance. Again, this is on the hourly, just showing you how to play the charts. So this was support, support, was resistance, support, support, support. It was support, became resistance and support, resistance. So your next resistance level to pay attention to scalp a short is going to be around 86,666. If we get above that, your next resistance level, and this will be very strong resistance level around, and it depends when you make contact, guys. It's on the hourly. You know, up around over here is around 89,632. Depends when you make contact. Your most key resistance level I have on this chart is up around 94,500. And again, a lot of charts are showing me 93,000 and 94,000 would be a great point to enter a short, and you'll see that on these charts. And again, I make these red. I'm particular about that because those are points you would short. But again, this is more for scalping. Curious what this line is right here. So this is around 93,000. So again, 93,000, 94,000. A lot of charts show that as a point to open a short. Right now we're looking bullish, but your next hourly resistance is around 86,600. All right, so this next chart, so this is the D1 simple chart. Let me make this thicker so you can see it. So this has been our resistance since, well, we topped out at what, 109,235, and we have just been moving down this line. We got wicks above, wicks above, wicks above, but we have yet to get a daily open until recently. So we have, it looks like we've officially broken above this trend line of resistance, which is bullish, but that does not mean we cannot push back up, come back down, test it as support, and then push higher. Obviously, we break back down below this trend line of resistance, that would be bearish and mean we'd have more downside. But as I said, you know, I keep talking about 93,000, 94,000, and again, when you see all these charts and they all match up, I'm saying I'm definitely going to be shorting 93,000 and 94,000. So if you notice right up here, 93,500, and if we zoom out and we look and see why that's an important level, and then this again, I think this is on and this is on log scale, but again, this was resistance right here, it was resistance right here, and if we zoom in, you can see that became support, right? It was support all through here. Then we dropped, it became resistance. So that is going to be resistance level, plus we have this macro yellow trend line right here that goes back since the beginning of Bitcoin. So that's why I said if we push up, I think an ideal point to open a short would be 93,500 to potentially 95,000, depends on how soon we hit it. But to me, that looks like a great point to open a short, maybe a scalp short. Obviously, if we get above 93,500, 95,900, then we're going much higher, and we could come up and test some of these resistance levels way above. Now, that means expect the markets to push much higher if that happens, but I'm still going to short around 93,000 to 94,000. Another chart, this is the weekly chart. If you'll notice this yellow macro trend line, same one just on the weekly chart. These are the weekly Bollinger Bands. So this is a center Bollinger Band on the weekly. Take note that that's right at 93,500. Again, all of these charts are showing 93,500 to 94,000. So you have this macro yellow trend line goes back since the beginning of Bitcoin. You got your center Bollinger Band. It's a lot of resistance and a lot of charts on the same level. And if we pushed above that, guys, so this right here is, if I zoom out, so basically that's just a curve. Let me get rid of the MACD and RSI. So basically you can see that white curve is basically, it just encompasses all of our peaks, right? So that, again, is kind of leveled out and it's flat. So if we pushed up, we got one hell of a pump. Just keep in mind, we've got the top Bollinger Band on the weekly sitting around 108,222, and the top of this curve is going to be up around 111,390. I'm just saying, if we got above 94,000, these are your targets to watch: 108,300 to 112,069. But as I said, we still have to get above 93,000. 94,000, but a lot of charts are showing that's a lot of resistance, and if I see a lot of charts showing a lot of resistance, that means that's probably a point to open a short. So let's go on to the Dow Jones. So I mentioned that this ring I talked about for a while. We got a bounce right on this ring in a support level, and we pushed up. Markets are pushing up, and that was also a clue that Bitcoin would push up. Now we did get a rejection. Notice this fib, you can see this fib line right here. It was resistance, support, 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 support. It was resistance, so our resistance, or our fib level resistance is right around 40,800. But the next ring above, and again, these fib lines, I would play the fib lines, but the rings kind of give you an idea. But I'd be watching if we got one hell of a pump with the Dow, 42,586, but again, this gets lower as time goes on. So we could get one hell of a pump. Bitcoin could push much higher. But if we got up to 42,500 to 42,700, I'd be looking for some points to put into puts for the Dow. Right now, let's see if we get above 40,792. And we do have one more resistance level around 41,552. But those are your main levels to pay attention to, and your next support level on the Dow is right around 39,744. I'll make some more videos during the week with some more key targets for the Dow. But right now, again, we got a hell of a bounce in the Dow, around 36,856. Obviously, Trump put a pause on those tariffs for 90 days. They're not off the table completely, but that is bullish. I would like to cover this. This is the CPI inflation chart. And I just want to point out, so this yellow line right here, this was back when we had the global financial crisis back in 2008. And I just want to point out, you'll see these red lines I have. So this is just a fib channel line where it intersects another fib channel line. And take note, when we cross these points, we dropped. And you can see this red line below right here, this is 0. And the reason this is important is because they say there's inflation, and then there's disinflation, and there's deflation. But I just want to point out that we broke below the support level, and take note, this is the same line that we found support and then we just broke. So that is a key fib line. So again, we broke that, and notice how far we came down. We broke the 0 point, and that was where it was considered deflation. And again, we had a major crash during the global financial crisis back in 2008. Over here, this is when COVID happened. This was around back in February 2020. Take note, we broke this. This is also a support level. It's been support and resistance. And you can see this fib line right here, that was support. So we can see that that's an important level. Well, when we broke below, we came up, tested a resistance, all right? Then when COVID happened, we broke below it, and then you can see inflation actually was disinflation, we dropped. And then they printed all the money, and then inflation just shot up to 9.15, and then we came down. What I'd like to point out is we just broke below 2.72. So, it's possible, we're going to go from disinflation to deflation, and deflation is bad. The next level I have is 1.18. So just something to pay attention to, but just seeing what happened during the GFC and during COVID, and because we're breaking below these two key levels, keep in mind, see how it was support down here? You can see it was support right here, and we pushed up, and now we're breaking that point. So again, something to pay attention to. Guys, look up the difference between disinflation and deflation. But deflation could be bad. And remember, they're predicting that Atlanta Fed's predicting that we're going to have negative GDP, so something to pay attention to. Also, the 10-year Treasury versus the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is in orange, and you can see the 10-year Treasury is white. If you notice, when the Treasury bottoms, that's typically a peak in the markets. You can see the right here, this was a bottom for the NASDAQ. That was a peak with the 10-year Treasury. Same thing, and these are different events. So this is 2000 right over here. This was the GFC right here. You see we bottomed and we peaked. All I want to point out is that you can see that we bottomed pretty much. So the 10-year, so there's an inversion. We were dropping below and we pushed up. Typically when it gets uninverted, right, the yield curve uninverts and starts pushing up, typically that's bearish for markets, and you can see we've started dropping since the yield curve started pushing back up. Now, we don't know how high this can go or how low the NASDAQ will go, but I would like to point out, just using a trend line, you can see back since this was 2011, you see it was resistance, resistance, resistance. So the yield curve could push up to at least 103, right, or 1.03. But I would also like to point out, it looks like the average is right up around, what, 258. So it's possible, we could go even higher. This could go up to 2.6. And if that's the case, just historically, looking what happens when until the yield curve eventually stops and comes back down, as long as the yield curve's uninverting and pushing up, that means the NASDAQ can continue down. So I'm just saying, we could be looking at some bearish, for the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow. We could be looking at some more downside over time as this yield curve uninverts and pushes up higher and higher. But you can use a trend line. This might be a point we get a rejection, and then when the yield starts coming back down, then we might see the NASDAQ level off or pushed up. Something to pay attention to. Gold, I mentioned this in the last video, and I showed this in Discord, but I'm going to show you guys right now. And since this weekend, I guess this video can run a little long, but I want to show you why. Let me just get rid of this. I just want to show you why and how, another way to look at this gold chart. And I'd mentioned in the last video, so these are fib channels. So if I draw a line here, it's always extended. Hold on. So if you'll notice, this is a fib channel line, right? Notice we got rejected, it became support, and we pushed up. Well, we can do another fib channel line right here. This is the next fib line up. Notice we got rejected, right? Came back down, pushed up. Oops, we got somewhat of rejection, became support, and we pushed up. And the next fib line above that, which we're about to test, or we're very close to right now, or is right at 3,266. Gold has just been pushing up like crazy. Typically when gold pushes up, that's because people are jumping out of markets or jumping out of cash, flight to safety, and that's why gold is pushing up. But I do think it's possible we could see some downside. But what I wanted to point out is if you look at the MACD, the moving average, notice right here where we got rejected, rejected, and rejected. That's right up here where the MACD moving average got a cross, which is pretty high. We got rejected right here, had a pretty substantial drop with gold. MACD was kind of topped out, we got a cross. And now we're coming up on the next, this is the next fib line above, and you can see how overextended the MACD is. So just another way to look at it, why it's possible that we could have some downside with gold. Topped out, MACD was overextended, topped out, MACD was overextended, and we're about to top out again, in my opinion. We are way overextended. As I said, if I'm wrong, when we hold above 3,266, then more than likely gold is headed to around probably 3,500, which would be bullish for gold, very bearish for the dollar. DXY has been tanking pretty much. So the reason I want to bring up Ethereum, now, yes, we did break above this line. Let me get back to this chart here. Where's that line? So yes, we did get a break above this line right here of resistance. This is the first daily open we've had. Now, it is possible that this daily open could drop right back below, and then it'll just end up being a wick like this. We'll have to see. This is the same candle. So again, that's around 83,000. It looks like we're going to hold above this. At the time recording this video, the next daily open is what, 3 hours and 19 minutes. So as long as we keep a daily open above this point, I think we look bullish up to 93K. We'll have to see what happens. But we did break above it, and if we go to Ethereum, take note, you can see same thing as I showed you with gold and those other trend lines. I need to add some more fib channel lines to this chart, but take note this line right here has been a lot of support and resistance. This is the next fib line above, and if you will notice, that became resistance. Let me get an arrow tool here. Notice that became resistance, right? It became support, support, resistance, support. So we're right at this point. So if you're playing Ethereum, if we get above, all right, we get above 1,683, and that flips that support, then that's going to be bullish for some more upside targets. I will update this Ethereum chart to give you some more targets to play. But just for now, just showing that Bitcoin just broke above a key resistance level, you can see Ethereum is testing a major resistance level. So if you get above 1,686 with a daily open that holds the support, that's going to be bullish for Ethereum. Otherwise, if we cannot get above that, well, then that means we could have a drop. And your next major support level, again, all of these lines will be respected. We're looking at possibly 1,215. And if things get bad, again, you just extend this line out. Depending on when you make contact, that's down around $979. That'd be a hell of a drop for probably Bitcoin and the markets. But the most important thing, we're at resistance. So either we get rejected here, which you could open a short, but if we get above 1,686, then I would definitely go long because that would be bullish. Now, again, I'm mentioning this Litecoin and one more because we're at resistance with both of these. Take note, same thing, this fib channel line right here. This was a lot of resistance, and you see it flipped as support, and then became more support, and we're at resistance. So for Litecoin, same thing, we're at a key resistance level. Now, do we push above it, or do we get rejected? So you could open a short here. I don't know that I would do that. If Bitcoin's pushing up, markets are pushing up, then we're probably going to push higher. But we know that if we get a daily open above 79.66 for Litecoin, that would be bullish. That means we have more upside. But again, just want to show we're testing a critical level with Ethereum, 1,686. Critical level with Litecoin, 79.66. Daily open above that would be bullish. ADA, same thing. And I'll kind of zoom out of this chart and show you, but this is a key level we're testing right now. And it looks like we're kind of pushing above it. Notice we found perfect support. And again, I when I create these charts, I create them in multiple directions, so we have multiple lines to play in different angles. And I do teach how to create these charts. I have tutorials on my website if you want to check those out. But notice we found almost perfect support on this fib channel line. And make this bigger so you can see this. Again, this is ADA. So we found support at 0.50, and we're just now breaking above this. So your current, I'm gonna make it gray because we're kind of pushing above it. Now we could get rejected here, but this is just another chart showing we're at a key resistance level. And if I zoom out, you can see why this is the case. If you follow that yellow line back, you can see that while we did dip below it a bit, you can see it was a lot of support here. Take note, we were expecting this line right here as well as this line right here. So that is a very key support level, and that was around, wow, 0.0272, and that was back on the 18th of March 2020. Well, the next time we tested that line was on, this was the 24th of August 2023. That was around 0.257. We did go below it. We dropped below it. It became resistance. So we're coming up to test that same line now. So if we get above that, all right, so if we get a daily open above with ADA above 0.65, then we are bullish up to your next resistance level. These are levels you can scalp all day long. And again, just look left and you can see why. You can see right here, this line, you can see it was support, resistance, a lot of support through here, and you can see it became resistance right here. Same thing with the line above that. This was a lot of resistance, a lot of support, was support, a lot of resistance. So you have your levels to play. Again, you just play the lines as you make contact. So your next resistance level above is around 0.91. But again, just showing you those three altcoin charts are at a key resistance level. I think I would wait until we open above, and if we do, that's bullish, go long. Opening a short now would be a little risky. I think the safer play is wait till we open above, that'd be bullish, and then go long, at least on the daily. Solana, same thing. This chart was updated more recently. Notice this fib line. I have it outlined so it stands out more. But notice that this was resistance, became support, perfect support right here at 109.91. It became support again. And this is what I call double support. You have this fib line right here, and you have this fib line here. So we held support at 92.30, and then we pushed up. So we're coming up on a strong resistance level, and that's right at 142.55. And again, all you have to do is look left and you can see why. If we pull this line back, you can see how much resistance that's been. Hold on a sec, guys. So again, you can see it was a lot of support through here. Perfect resistance, perfect resistance. It was a little bit of resistance and support. You can see it was support again, it became resistance. So you know that if we push up $142.55, big great 0.2 short. If we push above that, well, follow this line back. You can see that that was a lot of resistance right here. It was a lot of support right here. It was resistance here. So if we push above that, then your next resistance level to pay attention to would be up around, depending when you make contact, 172. Your current support right now, just below, if we drop, is around 119. And again, this is Solana. And your current support, if you drop below that, is around 96.1. If we drop below that, you do have a support level just below that, around 90.04. But again, if we drop below 96, I think that'd be pretty bearish. And if you notice this highest point I have right here, all right, so if we got one hell of a pump, again, your next resistance level, you can see how accurate these charts are. Resistance, perfect resistance, perfect support, a lot of support, we broke it and dropped. So you know a very, very key resistance level is going to be up around 228. And the next line I have above that is around 326. Now keep in mind, this is on the daily. These are at an angle, so depending when you make contact, depends on when you short, it's giving you an idea of price and timing. Above that, your next key fib line, like this one you see right here, that would be this line up here. So again, that's how you play it. You just look left, you see how price interacted with previous lines, that gives you an idea how to play it. XRP, now I need to add on to the chart. You can see I have a lot down here when price was moving along. As price moves along in these charts, update the charts, but I did want to show you we found not perfect support, but pretty good support down here around, this is 1.67. Now I have this on the daily. Let me just zoom out so you can get an idea how these charts work. I'm gonna turn off the Bollinger Band. So why was this strong support? Well, let's draw a trend line and follow this back. I don't know how far back this goes. Actually, it goes back a good ways. So if we pull this all the way back, all right, we can see that it was, we had not quite, we had some support and resistance right through here. We pretty much just blasted through it right here. You can see we got a little bit of support and resistance. You can see that this ended up being a lot of support through here, right? It became perfect resistance. It flipped that support. We broke it and dropped. And then you'll notice it became resistance, right? Resistance, flipped that support. I'm just showing you how important these lines are. And right here, you can see we didn't quite make it down to it, but right here it was support. Once we broke it, we dropped. So to me, seeing how well price has been interacting with that line, well, I went way back. Another resistance right here. And we keep going, and you can see we pushed above it. It was support and resistance. Take in mind, we're also not respecting just the lines in this direction, but the lines in this direction as well. So that is why we held support on that line. So if you open the chart and you look left, well, if we've been respecting this line going way back, chances are we will again. That's why we held support. So this is your most strongest support for XRP, is around 1.68. Your current support, if you want to scalp along, if we drop, is 1.98. But your most key resistance right now, if we push up with XRP, is going to be this line right here. And that is going to be around, 2.38. And then you have this next fib line above, which is 2.64. Now, if we break 1.68, well, you can see that we found some resistance and support right here. So that will be a support level around, 1.46. You can see we interacted with this line here. And again, just go back and look. You can see it was a resistance right here. So that will become support. And as I said, we're also respecting these lines as well. But you can go back and look for your strongest support level. So if you zoom out and you look where we had a lot of support, so it looks like this line right here. Notice it was a lot of resistance, a lot of support, even more support, more support. So you know that if we had a major drop, that would be a line to pay attention to, especially if we're further out here. So if we had a major drop, you're looking at maybe 0.84. And if we happen to be further out and we make contact where you have this fib line and this fib line where they converge or intersect, that's what I call double support, and that's close to $1, 0.93. So great point to go long. But those are your levels to play on XRP. So again, guys, just pay attention. Your next key level on Bitcoin on the daily is around 87,000. We get above that, I have to say, as long as the markets continue up, that will be bullish. Okay, your next resistance level is 90K. Now we could get rejected at 87,000, come back down to support, and then push back up and then break this point. Hell, we could be in a pattern like, let me get a brush tool here. I mean, it's possible we could do something like this, until we potentially either break to the upside or we break to the downside. You can play out a number of ways. I'm just giving you key levels to play. But we do know that we've already broken above that key line right here that went back since 109,000. Now, if this daily candle comes all the way back down and that was just a wick, then it could be something like this, which would be very bearish. Hopefully that doesn't happen and we continue up. But if we break above 87,000, we're breaking above that channel I mentioned in the previous videos, right? This channel right here. And that will be even more bullish, because not only have we broken above that line that I've been talking about right here, the spin arc resistance, we'll be breaking out of this channel. And that's why I think if that happens, you can expect us to test 93,000, 94,000, where I will be going short. But guys, that's pretty much it. Again, if you get a leverage trading coin catch, it's a great option. No KYC, no VPN. If you want to check out that events page where you can get these bonuses, I'll have that link pinned to the first comment description. Do check out that tutorial video. Again, these links will all be pinned to the first comment description. Do check out LBank. They have some nice specials going on as well. And remember, guys, you can get access to all these live charts in Discord. If you want to sign up, website's optioncrypto.com. The link's up top. If you do sign up, though, if you get the Bitcoin and altcoin charts option, it's $49 a month. Gives you access to Bitcoins, altcoins, precious metals, and Discord. But make sure if you sign up, you email me through the contact page, and I will send you a Discord invite link. So that's it, guys. Trade safe, trade smart. Let's see what happens on Monday. I'm out.